Making your way in the world today takes everything you've got. Taking a break from all your worries.
All right, welcome everybody. This is episode 9 of the Go for 222 podcast. It's a spooky edition, Halloween night. Hope everyone stayed safe. Got a lot of candy. I started raiding the bowl back there. Got some things tied me through this podcast. But things are getting real now in the league. People are moving up and down in the ranks. So let's get right into it. Let's look at our week 8 roundup. Let's check it out. Okay. So if you can see on my screen, let's go with the biggest blowout of the week. First of all, Aunt Jackie, Pax Mafia, came back strong this week with a plus 70-point win over Zach. That was a beaten. And I think you guys were together this weekend, so I'm curious to see how that all went. We'll have to debrief on that. But Aunt Jackie is obviously, you can see, holding strong in the top of the league. We'll get into that in a minute. G-Men versus Mike Fasano, another house divided matchup. Huge win for the G-Men. He was angling at the pub sub, 162 to 113. Really strong showing. The Gabagools just continue to win. They're on a streak, and so they beat Nickel. We'll have to talk to Nickel in a few minutes, see how he's feeling after the loss, and also some bigger problems with his team. But the pub sub this week goes to Uncle Mike. The bullshit team fired all of his losers, and we'll have to figure out how he changed his managerial strategy. And he beat Devin with the biggest win of the week. He wins the pub sub, but Uncle Mike, you have to tell me what's the Colorado version of a pub sub, because you're now 2 in the bag. You also won our trivia contest that we had during week 6. So we'll talk to you later about that. But let's take a look at the standings. Oh, I can't be remiss by saying, first of all, Uncle John and I slugged it out all week. It came down to the kicker, and Uncle John kicked my ass, basically. And the Gavones pulled ahead of me 154 to 139. But what that also did for the Gavones is we have created a 4-way tie, basically, for the first 4 positions. We have the same record, slightly different point differential. Mike and I are within 5 points of each other, but those top 4 seeds, this is a really competitive league where the top 6 are sharing these standings. So 5 and 6 are at 4 and 4. G-Men's right outside of the playoffs right now with another 4 and 4 record. So it's anybody's ball game. These next weeks are crucial. You must pay attention to your lineup. We're going to talk to Nickel in a few minutes. I'm heartbroken over his team right now, sitting at 2 and 6 at the bottom of the league. So we will we'll talk to Nickel. We'll see Uncle Mike's Busha team rising up. Really only 1 game out. He's got a lot of points. He's 1 game out of the playoffs, if you really think about it. So is Devin. So this is truly going to come down to week after week of putting your best foot forward. So that is our roundup for week 8. We're going into week 9. It's a spooky edition of the 222 podcast. When we come back, we're going to talk to Nickel for the first time. Stay tuned. Okay, we're back. As promised, I have a brand new guest to the 222 podcast, someone I've been looking forward to talking to for a long time. And I'm going to bring him to the stage now. Nickel, how's it going, man?
Hey, how's it going?
It's going well. The big digs up in live in the flesh.
Yes, I'm excited to be on. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. So again, you're the 3rd person on the podcast that I have not met officially in person, but we've gone on a hell of a journey together already. So I feel like I know you. But I wanted to first, happy Halloween.
Yes, I'm liking the costume. I should have dressed up. I didn't even think about it.
Listen, you're dressed up as a fantasy football icon right now. We're trying to pump your team back up to where it needs to be. So that's what you're dressed up as.
I know it's been rough. Yes,
I need
something to get me going.
All right, that's what we're here to help. But do you and Lauren, do you go out to any Halloween get-togethers or parties or anything like that?
Usually do. Lauren's huge into Halloween, but unfortunately this year we were traveling, so we didn't get to do much this go around.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So, I've been rating my kids' candy. What's your candy of choice right now? I got a few empty wrappers here.
You can't go wrong with Reese's. I mean,
That's it.
that always hits the spot.
Yeah, absolutely. Everything. That's the dad tax that I took from my kids' bowl back there. All the Reese's comes to me, so I'm with you on that. So you are in an interesting spot, right? Because you are in a fantasy football league with the family-in-law. You got Jackie, you got Uncle Joe, you got Zach. So there's a lot of dynamics going on. Has this caused any turmoil in your life?
I don't know about if it's causing any turmoil, but I'll tell you, Lauren's been giving me a lot of crap for not performing. So I think she's been the biggest critic.
Really? What kind of stuff is she throwing at you?
Oh, she's been disappointed, saying I gotta get some wins in front of the family if I want to impress anybody.
You know what? I don't think I don't think it's even like your fault. Like your team is very good.
I
Um,
know.
you know what's happening? I think your points against are you're just running into like juggernauts every week. So I don't think it's you. I really don't. I'm going to stand by you. I think your team is solid. I think you're making sound fake fantasy football manager decisions. It's just your guys are not performing, and you're running into teams that are just overperforming. So I think you're
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah, and I have a lot of guys that I should start, but haven't been performing. Then I have these guys on the bench that shouldn't be scoring, and they are scoring. So it's
And
just
they are. Yeah, like I think you have like Zach Moss on there. Like these
yeah,
guys are like you can't trust them, but then they blow up.
yeah,
And what I think is interesting is that Uncle Joe and Jackie, like they're crushing it. Like they're doing so well. So I think that's a lot of pressure.
I should have stole more Bills players.
Well, I wanted to get into that because that was probably the first piece of controversy in the whole league. Prior to the bullshit team, prior to all that, there was the Stephon Diggs steal right at draft time. If I'm not mistaken, you were driving, right? Driving to their house on draft
Yep.
day. Were you driving or was Lauren driving?
Lauren was driving. She
Lauren was
let me sit
driving.
passenger and draft.
Okay. So you had full control over your decision, and you drafted with your first pick, Stephon
Yep,
Diggs.
yep. I couldn't let Stephon Diggs go any later than the 7th pick. So I know Jackie wanted him, but she was going to take Josh Allen first round no matter what. So he wasn't going to last to the 10th.
So your decision was more of one of being prudent. You didn't want to let him slip past his average draft position. You needed to snag him before someone else got him at a bargain.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense. So, and then you arrived at the Valenti residence, and was there any hostility?
I got a little bit, but I think she was just happy that I was part of the league and we were there, so we had that going for me.
And listen, you couldn't have a better person in your corner. She, right as soon as we started talking about the league, she wanted you and Zach to be part of it right away, and I thought that was awesome, and I'm so glad that she did that. So when I talked to Lauren during the WAG episode, she was mentioning that you're not in a lot of leagues, right? So tell me about your history. Where do you stand with this silly game?
Yeah, so I have a college league just with a bunch of college buddies that we've had going for, I don't know, 7 years now.
Okay.
So that's the consistent one, and then I'll be in a few other leagues here and there sometimes, but I try and keep it just to 2 leagues, or else it gets a little crazy.
It does.
That college group league, I should say, is a fun one. I actually won it last year, and the year before
Nice.
that, I was second to last place. So I tend to just fluctuate. So we'll see where I end up this year.
Now your college league, are there high stakes? Is there a punishment for the loser? Anything like that?
I do have a funny story about that. We used to have a punishment, and
Okay.
the year I was second to last, the loser had to get their belly button pierced. And the guy that came in last was getting married that year. and ended up never doing it. So it's kind of the league has kind of fallen apart since then.
Wow. So I mean, is he eventually going to do it? Is he?
Nope. He's also the commissioner, so I think they let it
Okay.
die. We didn't want the league to disband, so we let it go.
Wow. Yeah, I was considering. We don't necessarily have a winning prize. Working on that, but I was thinking of a punishment. We didn't put it into the bylaws yet, but if you had to think of a punishment for this league, like, any thoughts, any ideas?
I think in the next family gathering, the loser has to buy everyone pub subs and doesn't get one. How about that?
I think and doesn't get one, right? Has to watch everybody. Yeah, I think. Listen, I think you hit a winner. I think that's a good one. So you're in a few leagues here and there. You started about 7 years ago. Do you have a couple of guys that you always target, you always look for in the draft?
I try and go wide receiver heavy, but I went against that theory this year, and it's not working well for me, especially in PPR. So I try and scoop up as many wide receivers as possible.
Yeah, that's been my go-to the last few seasons. And I'm looking at your team right now. You got Diggs, you got Metcalf, but you went running back heavy. You had Pollard, Mixon. Mixon had a good game this past week.
Yeah, finally.
And you have scary Terry McLaurin. And I think I'm digging into again. I think you're a Commanders fan by nature. Or is that true?
Yes. Unfortunately, I grew up. My parents had season tickets. Always a Redskins fan, Commanders fan.
Yep.
And things kind of fell off past 8 years, I'll call it. And haven't watched them as much as I used to. But it's tough being a Commanders fan, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's a tough fan base. I don't think I know any Commanders/Redskins fans. You're the first that I've ever met. Like RG3, like those guys, like you know who I really loved? I mean, I love that RG3's rookie season was incredible. That was one of the first years we played fantasy, and he was the guy.
I love the Clinton Portis era. That was a good time.
The Clinton Portis era. Clinton Portis was a fantasy stud. He was the man.
Yep, and then his post-game interviews, he was always dressed up in something. It was always fun to watch.
So now you've dealt with you had was it Alex Smith? No, Carson Wentz, right? No, you didn't have Wentz, right?
We had Wentz.
You had Wentz.
Alex Smith. We've had many quarterbacks.
Yeah. And I used to love what's the running back that was with RG3? Not Albert Moss. Who am I talking about?
Albert Morris.
Alfred Morris. Oh, I loved Alfred Morris that first. So now that you're still in the mix, Nickel. Listen, your team is, let's see, you're in last place right now. You have a 2-6 record. You're 2 games out of the playoff spot. You really have to just make a run. In this coming week. Oh, by the way, you were against Uncle Joe last week. Did he talk any smack over the last week or so?
It was quiet. I think he's saving it for Thanksgiving.
Oh, okay. So you guys are getting together for Thanksgiving. Yeah. That's a pivotal week.
Yep, they're coming up actually to our place.
Oh, Richmond. Awesome!
So we're gonna have a good time.
Oh, that's awesome. Watch a few games.
Yep.
Eat some food. Uncle Joe is a great Thanksgiving guy. He's come to our house a few times Thanksgiving. He'll bring jars of turkey broth and things like that. He's all over it. So I hope you let him in the kitchen.
Oh, absolutely. He can take it over. That's for sure.
Yeah, let him take it over. So right now, next week, I'm just checking out your matchup just to make sure that we are on the same page here. You are against. Oh, that's this week. Next week, you are against Uncle John, who just beat me this past week. You're projected to lose, but it's a big bye week again. You have Purdy on a bye, Moody on a bye. You gotta just shuffle a few things around. Your quarterback's on a bye. So any thoughts on the waiver wire? Maybe you don't want to give that away right now.
Yeah, I'll definitely be perusing, but I'm also I'm open to trades. Everybody that's listening,
Oh,
send over some
interesting.
offers.
Are
So
you
we can
are
see.
you targeting anybody? You want to propose a trade right here on the podcast? We can throw it out there.
I'm gonna have to do a little more research before I start
Okay.
throwing stuff out there. But I do have a few running backs I could get rid of for a wide receiver.
In the wire is running back. There's a dearth, so your running backs are valuable. I think you could score a pretty penny for a top running back. So that is very interesting. And
We'll see.
I think November 18th is the deadline. So you have a few weeks left to play around. But I think people need to check Nickel out. Big Dig's got some people on the for sale here.
Yeah, I'll be looking through some people's rosters. You might hear from me soon.
Okay, I'm looking forward to it. As you progress through the week, through the league, I want you to feel comfortable. You are a solid member of this family. We want you to feel comfortable. But if you were in the championship game with Jackie, how would that be for you? Because that's a very real possibility here. Anything is up for grabs.
Honestly, I think it'd be great. We can both root for the Bills, and
Yeah,
I can
that's
still root
true.
for Josh Allen to throw to Diggs. So I don't think it'd be that bad. That might be ideal.
That would be ideal. That could be that could be something that brings the family even closer together.
Yeah.
So, Nickel, man, thank you so much for coming on. We're gonna touch base later on in the season. I wish your team a lot of luck. You are still in the mix. Do not hang your head. Maybe go get some Reese's and enjoy this coming week.
Thank you so much. Yep, I'll keep fighting, and I appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely, and we'll be on the lookout for some trade offers from Nickel.
Absolutely. Thank you so
All
much.
right, man.
Yeah.
Take care. Have a good one. Okay, back by popular demand is my favorite uncle and yours. Now, all of you guys are my favorite uncles, but our favorite bullshitter, Uncle Mike. You're back after a few week hiatus. How are you?
Kamish, thank you for having me back, and all of the other league team members. Thank you for putting up with me. I'll do my best to avoid a lot of unnecessary political statements or banter or things that may not be appropriate for this type of format.
Right. Well, that's why I always keep you last, just in case things go off the rails. That's been a standard, but
Yes.
you know, I think that for your image, I think the PR department at the league requested that you take a bit of a holiday.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
just to kind of clear your name, let things blow over a little bit,
Exactly.
and reinvent yourself. I think you've done that, and you went to Italy for a few weeks, right?
Well, I went to Italy, but that was a nice trip. But reality is, I'm learning, and I'm trying. I mean, I've realized that it helps to actually watch football and watch your players, and then you begin to see why some of your players are performing or perhaps underperforming. So I've made some adjustments to the team. I got rid of the Samajay guy who was just useless. I got rid of the Broncos defense that was useless.
Get them out.
And suddenly, I got some points coming on.
So you really went through kind of like a Microsoft evaluation process where you kind of ranked everybody and you eliminated the bottom 5%.
When I look at the projected points, I read a little bit, and then I realize this player has underdelivered week after week. So it's like, why would I play someone who, I got it, you have a bad game, you get hurt, that's okay. But every week, Samajay, a point here, a point there, that's a useless player to me.
Absolutely.
I know your mother-in-law convinced me to take it. But I realize now that she did that purposely so Gary would have a freaking edge.
So you're thinking that there was collusion right at the draft?
Yeah, there was a little collusion. I'm not going to create any, I'm trying to do a little bit better there. I'm not. You're the one who said it, not me. I'm
I,
just saying. I'm saying.
I am unbiased and fair, and I need to give you a lot of credit because, like your name says, you're trying, and it really shows. If you look at the standings, I want to say two weeks already. Last week, especially, your team scored the most points in the league. So already right there, you are your team is just now performing where it needs to be. Um, you are within one game of the playoffs. I don't know if you realize that. You're in the
I did
ninth
not
spot.
realize that.
It's
In
true.
fact,
You're,
if I
you're
wouldn't have played Samajay last week, he blew my chance to win.
and every win is important now. And I break it down to the beginning of this episode, but you're one win away from, and you have enough points. That's the thing. You've scored a lot of points. You're one win away from really being in that sixth spot. You just have to time it right. You need to have Devin lose, but you're right in there.
Well, I noticed two things. I noticed a couple things, and I think it's possible that the new family members. When I say family, I'm talking. You go to Sicily, they talk family in a broad sense.
Family, right.
This Zach and this Devin guy, new to the family, they're both, I think, purposely in last place.
So you
They're
think
trying
that
to make a good impression by not showing off and coming to the top and beating everybody. You know what I'm saying? I think that's possible.
Well, I just spoke to Nickel and he's thriving on the competition. He really wants to he drafted the Buffalo Bills Stephon Diggs first pick. He's really taking aim. I think he's trying. I don't know.
Yeah, I think Nichols but when I look at the league roster, it's Zach and Devin are in the Did you notice that?
I kind of did notice that. So you're thinking that they may be tanking.
I think they're trying to avoid family dynamics. I think they want to keep low key. This first year of it being introduced to the family league, they're a little bit nervous. I think
Do you think that's bullshit?
That or they're just idiots. They don't know how to pick players.
Maybe they don't know how to play. I don't know. Maybe they lost their password. They don't know how to log in.
Maybe they don't know how to trade, and maybe they need to call Uncle Mike and learn how to do things like that now.
Yeah. Now, have you learned anything? I know you watched last episode. Gary was talking about trading. Have you thought about trades?
No, I'm not. You know what? I haven't traded yet. What I've done is I've dropped them.
You've dropped.
And I picked someone else. Here's a question for you. What's the difference between dropping a player and then finding someone else out of the pool versus doing a trade? I mean,
so I'll tell you. So when you're doing a trade, you're taking someone off of someone's team. So in theory, someone is holding someone of more value than the player that's on the waiver wire. So
it depends on who you're trading with. Devin tried to pull that shit with me. Oh, let me trade you this guy. And I'm like looking at his guys, like, your guy's useless.
So he was trying to give you a bullshit trade.
Oh.
Bullshit. So I was talking to Nickel before. Nickel is highly interested and highly motivated to make a trade.
With me?
With anybody. He's put it out there to the family that he's looking to offload one of his star running backs. So
shit, I would have held on to Samajay for him.
And yeah, you could have he could have been part of the deal.
Yeah. Yes. Did you see what the Broncos did this past weekend?
I did. They did. They took it to the Chiefs.
Here's the thing, though. That's probably it.
That's it. Yeah, I think you're right.
I don't think they can do anything more than
that. Was everyone in Denver all hyped up about it?
Watch the news. Everyone's hyped up. This is the big comeback, but
right.
Nah, I'm not buying it.
I think it's bullshit.
I think John Elway, the damage he did to that team when he was the general manager is going to take probably a good 5 to 8 years to unwind that.
Yeah, I mean, Elway took him to the Super Bowl.
I sound like Michael Fasano now.
You do, like you're a different guy. You went to Sicily.
Yeah.
And when you're in Sicily, I'm picturing that you're checking your lineup every day, but you got prosciutto over your eyes. You're sunning yourself at the pool or at the Aegean Sea. Is that accurate?
Yes. Well, I would say Sicily. Yeah, a little bit, but I would say I think I could tell that our family, a lot of us are from somewhere down there, because when you look at, these older men, they're
Right.
all grumpy, big, like frowny faces. And it's sort of like, well, that could be my fucking dad right there.
but they're in Sicily, so they have really nothing to be complaining about.
Well, they don't, but they do,
But
because it's in the blood. It's in the
it's
genes.
just in the blood, right? It's not like
It's-
Napolitan, like
Right, exactly.
right. Interesting.
Yes.
So what is your outlook now? You're again one game away from turning this whole thing around. You have some real players now. A lot of addition by subtraction. You got rid of Samjay. Where do you go from here? Where does the Busha team go from here?
Well, I got to think about the fantasy league like golf.
Right.
Okay. As soon as you have a good round of golf, you all of a sudden have an expectation. Okay, so the next time you play golf with this high expectation,
Right.
you get very disappointed when you don't deliver.
Right.
So I'm going into the next game, and if that's my last game for the season because I don't make the playoffs, so be it.
So be it.
So be it. And I'm not going to go in saying I'm going to win, because if I go in and my team fails, then I'll be pissed. So no expectation. That's the secret to this. Just like golf.
Just like golf. So you're going in no expectation. Well, I'm sorry. I can't turn my expectations off for you. I think you're going to make a
run. I'm still want to win. Don't get me wrong. But mentally, I have to balance that desire to win with, if I over expect, then I'm going to get angry.
Right.
And if I
get speaking of hangry, I need to feed you. You've won now 2 things, and I need to know, in Colorado, you don't have a Publix, right?
I don't, but I'm going to North Carolina tomorrow, and I understand
there we go.
They have a Publix there. But let me
Bingo.
ask you a question about this.
Yeah.
Whose money is this that you're spending? Yours?
This is the Go for 222 podcast sponsorship by Briashki. Sponsored money.
Next year, what you should do is, everyone who's in, put in like $25 or whatever, and use that money to do the pub subs, and maybe end of year first place, second place kind of thing.
Yeah. I think this year my plan was to get everyone hooked, get everyone interested. You're hooked. I know.
Well, I'm hooked. I'm not hooked because of the fantasy thing. I'm hooked because this is a good method of communicating.
Yep.
I mean, Joe, prior to this, I talk to you once every 5 years.
I know. What's up with that?
You were like a funeral guy to me.
We saw each other at weddings and funerals.
Look, there's a Briashki guy.
Well, I'm glad. I agree. I think that we kind of broke down barriers. We realized that this is very easy to do.
Yes.
Yeah. So I appreciate that, Uncle Mike. And so you're gonna be with Uncle Joe and Jackie.
Yes, for some time. I think
Good.
we're not staying there though, because we weren't.
Okay.
We weren't really invited.
Okay. Well, little animosity probably still. Hopefully,
Jackie, I think the deep rooted. You brought it up, so I have to go there.
You might have to.
I think it could be something to do with there's still, and especially since I outbeat her again this week with the points. I think there's a little. I think there's something going.
There might be, and you know what? That was never the intention of the podcast, to open wounds. I feel like we did some damage here.
No, but we did heal it up last time.
We did.
I thought we did until I'm going down there, but I'm not. I may sing for it.
Maybe we'll touch base with you guys, next week, and if you're there, and if you can get together, we'll see if we can get everyone together.
All kidding aside, we'll definitely see them. We have a good time with them.
That's great.
Joe, we have a good time.
Maybe you'll go to the barbecue buffet there.
Casey's. I actually have buy one get one free Casey cards.
Do you really?
That the owner gave to me like 5 years ago.
Oh
I
shit!
still have them. The question is, he's still going to honor them?
The ownership at Casey's has been nothing but nice and
He will,
outstanding. Casey's in Wilmington, North Carolina. Go there. Delicious food. You're gonna leave very happy. Maybe another
you know what?
sponsor.
And you now that's a good lead into, and also why you need brioche.
Absolutely. I just rated the kids candy bars over there that we I had like 6 Reese's.
Well, hold on. So do you guys sort through the stuff that they should have and the stuff you should have?
Yeah, you go through the thing, you take out all the razor blades and the poison, from the neighbors, and then I take like the Reese's and the 100 grand. Those are some good ones. What do you like? What's your candy? What did you take from the kids?
The gummy bears.
Gummy bears. Oh, were they like the gummies or like the
special gummies? That's what they hand out. Parents hand out. They want all our kids numb, so
right.
that when they get older and they're taxed to death because we are a highly liberal state, they don't know. So that's what they give them gummies early.
They got the gummies early. Interesting. I didn't know they did that out there in Colorado.
Well, it's for political reasons.
Okay. All right.
Same as immigrants. They bring them in.
Right? Shit. All right. This is where we can't. Stop that shit. I'm editing that out. Pause for editing.
Yes.
Okay. Very good. Uncle Mike, it's been awesome talking to you. We will we'll touch base next week when you're down in North Carolina.
And good luck, everyone, next week or this week when this broadcast will be this week. Good luck. As you said, Joe, if I don't win, then I'm out.
No, you're not out, but you do a little bit of damage. But if you win, you're right there.
I'm right there, and then it's basically a clean slate. Starts all over.
Yeah, pretty much. Like you're in the mix.
Imagine if the booze shitter and the shitter's full go head to head.
A total shit fest.
It would be a shit fest.
A shit show, right?
All right. See you.
All right. Good night, Uncle Mike. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, that was Uncle Mike, shitters of the Boo Shit team. And that was episode 9 of the 222 podcast. Hope everyone had fun. And we'll talk to you next week. Don't forget to set your lineups. There's an early game this week as well, a game in Germany. So make sure you set your lineup. Okay, take care. Okay, surprise. We have one more guest. And I didn't think a Halloween episode should go without a really scary story. And for those of you that know and have watched the podcast, I'm a gigantic Jets fan. Everybody else is a gigantic Giants fan, including the man in front of me here, Uncle John. How are you?
I'm doing well, Commish. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. But the scary story comes in last Sunday, a day that should have been filled with energy and spirit and great battle on the gridiron, Jets versus Giants once every 4 years, was one of the scariest, ugliest, worst games I've ever seen. And we came out on top, I'm not going to lie, but it was an ugly win. It was raining and miserable the whole game. Third string quarterback, shitty play. But I have a true survivor of the game right here. Uncle John was actually at the game, commuted out from Long Island. He escaped Lorena Bobbitt. And he made it to MetLife Stadium. So I thought it'd be great for him to tell his tale of his experience at that debacle at the Meadowlands.
Well, the only way to describe it is it is a day that will live in infamy. It was a disaster from the start to the end. As you said, just getting up early in the morning, going to a New York Giant a game experience, driving from Long Island into New Jersey is an experience in it of itself.
But, so it was a 1 o'clock game. What time did you have to get up?
We left the house around 8 o'clock. We usually get there at 9, and we normally do a really big tailgate. I bring a grill. We cook up some steaks, things like that. But knowing that the weather forecast wasn't going to be really conducive to that, I decided to go the Plan B route, which was to go to Uncle Giuseppe's the day before. Got some nice, good, like fried eggplant with prosciutto, and fresh mozzarella, and
Oh,
we went that route. Some nice.
that's a good route.
Gabagool, in honor of the Gabagools and all those good, salamis and supersad and that.
Wow. So you went to
Yeah,
Uncle Giuseppe's and you catered that whole affair.
Yeah, and we got there, and of course it was pouring raining. So your options are limited. I was able to borrow a pop-up tent.
Okay.
And I had a few chairs and stuff, but it was cold. It was damp.
Oh,
It was essentially miserable. People weren't really in a really good mood. Had a
right.
few cocktails, that kind of lessened the stress a little bit. But you go through the motions and you hope that, all right, you're going into this exciting game, the Jets
Right.
versus the Giants.
Right.
Giants home turf. They're going to turn it around. And
Yep.
as you mentioned, it was basically like two bad teams slinging mud at each other.
Right.
It was basically I've seen better games at Pee Wee football, youth football games had more excitement, generated actually more offense than either team did. But if you know enough about football, you got to play your percentages. You rely on your defense. You don't expect your second string quarterback, if you're the New York Giants, Taylor, to go down with an injury. So
Right.
they bring in Tommy DeVito, who I refer to affectionately as Danny DeVito.
That's what we called him too. We said Danny DeVito.
Well, Danny DeVito, and it didn't take long to realize that I guess the man has never even thrown a pass in his life.
Right.
So the game plan was very simple. You didn't even have to be an offensive coordinator or an offensive guru to really understand that all they were going to do is Saquon first play, Saquon second play, maybe
Right.
occasionally Saquon third play, and hope to get a first down.
Right. Maybe Matt Breida to take a break. He threw ultimately for the game. He was 2 for 7 for negative -1 yards.
I mean, think about statistically how when you look at that and analyze that statistic, how you could be a negative passer in the NFL. But if it was going to happen, it was going to happen. They just clearly couldn't throw the ball.
And with that, right at the end of regulation, even with that, they were still 99% to win on FanDuel. FanDuel puts out these percentages. They update it. They still had a 99% chance of winning, even with that.
Yeah. So, after agonizing through the rain and the misery and the dampness, and plenty of time saying to myself, why did I put myself through this agonizing experience?
Right.
It's almost like you sometimes just want to crucify yourself, and essentially you have to experience all the things you always talk about not doing, and you have to actually do them to then convince yourself that in the future you'll never ever do them again.
Right.
But only a fool makes the same mistake twice. Well, I was the fool. So especially picking the day that I picked to go to the game.
Right.
But as you know, the game came down to the fact that the Giants played great defense, and they sacked. I think it was Thibodeau who sacked Wilson, and essentially ends the game. So all us Giant fans thought,
you're out.
And we're like, let's beat the crowd. And everybody just starts hitting the aisles and basically climbing over and running over each other in order to get to that car or the train to get the hell out of Dodge.
Get warm, right.
And as as we're working our way to the car, I keep on hearing some roars coming from the stadium. And I'm saying to myself, I guess the game must be over. And I'm lost in space a little bit, trying to get to the car, not realizing the game was actually still being played. And so I get to the car, and we're drenched. We're like wet rats. I get the heat going, all that.
Right.
But I'm kind of, I have to say, I'm euphoric because, after the shitty day, at least the Giants get a win out of it.
Right, you get a win.
And I'm like, okay, I'm never going to do this again and watch this shit, but I at least can say the Giants are well on their way to maybe recovering. They got Las Vegas, they're a shit show. So the schedule starts, coming a little bit better for them.
Softens up.
But now there's a group next to us as I'm pulling out, and they are Jet fans, and they're watching it on, I guess, a television under their canopy. And I see them like high-fiving each other, and when so I rolled the window down and I said, "Game's over, right?" And they're like, "No, friggin' the Giants, tried to get a first down, then they sent their field goal kicker out. He muffed he didn't get the kick, and so now the Jets have it like, they're trying to get down to field goal range. I'm like,
Right.
It's not going to happen. It's just not in the cards.
Right.
Of course, get into the car, and now I got to get out. So I'm like, I got to, accept anything that comes. We're listening to the game on the radio. And of course, at that point, the Jets got their field goal to win it. And I just said that it took a while to actually really absorb what
sink in
happened in the last, 2 minutes. And it was just made things worse because leaving Giant Stadium, I always say Giant Stadium, but it's MetLife Stadium. You leave at 4:00 on a Sunday late afternoon, especially in the rain, and you're setting yourself up for disaster.
Absolutely.
Sure enough, it was a little over 3 hours before my car pulled into the driveway, and here I was, wet, miserable, spent the entire drive home blaming everybody and anybody for the loss. And that was just the gist of a day that, I was blessed and fortunate to be able to go to a football game.
Right.
I didn't buy any hot dogs in the stadium at $15, or I didn't buy, any alcohol there that, was up probably $25.
Right.
But I mean, the outcome of the game was certainly disappointing. And, I could sit here and analyze the faults as to who to blame for this. There's plenty to go around. We don't have a field goal kicker anymore who we used to be able to, hit real good field goals. But
absolutely, he was the best player.
Can't hit a field goal anymore. And I question the whole 4th and 1 decision. Who am I though? I mean, I'm just a former high school football coach, now fan, and one of 80,000 people that sit and criticize the coaching staff and stuff. But I think Dable, if he had to do it all over again, he would go back and say, you know what? I mean, I got this star, Saquon Barkley. I put the game in his hands. It's 4th and 1, dude. You got to get that. You got to get that first down.
Get that yard, end the game.
The game is over.
Yeah, it from watching at home, I just couldn't believe what I was seeing. I was dead to rights. I was sulking on the couch, and then when all this started happening, I couldn't believe it. Of course, whenever Gano gets up to kick that field goal, I'm cursing at him, I'm cursing at his mother, I'm cursing at his grandmother, anything to make him miss. And then when he did, I couldn't believe it. But I still didn't believe the Jets had any cojones to get down the field. And for 30 seconds, they played like a real team, and they made it happen.
It just sometimes things aren't in the cards, and you what do they say? You snap the bite of snap the losses. I'm
from the jaws of defeat. Yeah.
Right. The jaws of defeat.
Victory from the jaws of defeat.
Thank you. Thank you. I needed help on that. But yeah, it left Giant fans, I think, in just a complete state of shock and bewilderment that we're now unfortunately on this path again after having this, real good season last year to look forward to, and fit some good people in there. They got some off-season acquisitions and stuff, and so now we're looking at being mired into the low end of the NFL again. It was just kind of disappointing, but you know what, Joe? As I always say, those guys woke up the next morning. They got their huge paychecks deposited into their bank accounts, whether they played bad or not. And Brian Dable got his huge check, even though he couldn't, get the call right. And Graham Gano he got his big check, so they didn't have anything to give up. And yet the fans, what did they had to deal with a 3.5-4 hour commute ride home after watching that shit in the rain all day.
And when you texted me that day, you said it took you 3 hours. That burned me up, because there's nothing worse than sitting in traffic, after a loss, mind you. It's not even a Bruce Springsteen concert where you feel good after. It is just as
absolutely
miserable as it gets.
Look, if I was in a nice, comfortable van that somebody was driving, and it was a party bus, and I was able to have some heroes and some drinks, I could care less. If it was 5-hour ride, it's 5-hour ride. But when you're driving and you're going, not even 5 miles an hour through
the New Jersey Turnpike.
Yeah, and you're listening to all of the, the updates and stuff, and all the prognosticators, trying to break down the game, and I'm sitting there and get myself all worked up. I was like, but it's something I think I echoed my sentiments that I am not looking to go through that experience anymore.
Yeah.
Now, a week before, as we know, the G-Man and Mike went to a great game where the Giants not only won, they played well, and it was a beautiful day at the stadium.
Yes.
So they clearly had a different experience. I unfortunately got the wrong week. So
you did, and you had a tummy full of Uncle Giuseppe's for that long car ride home. I don't know how you made it.
That was the best. So I had a chunk of Hero left over, and I was gonna save it for lunch on Monday. But of course, on the way home, I started getting hungry, so I said, "Give me that sandwich." It was the fried eggplant, prosciutto with the balsamic vinegar and bell on
the
there.
best.
And the belches, the burps of having that smell in the car. It was quite an entertaining situation.
Well, so you found the silver lining on that otherwise miserable day.
Miserable day.
Oh man. Well, Uncle John, thank you for sharing.
Listen, Joe, I just wanted to say that this league is getting very interesting because I'm beginning to learn that on really any given week, no matter what your talent base is, the game is a toss-up. Far this week, I've made several moves, taking people off benches, and I got 4 guys on my roster now that are all questionable for Sunday.
Yeah.
And I'm losing some of my better players because it's a bye week. So now I'm really getting excited in a way, or it's becoming very intriguing to see now how this thing unfolds when you have the bye weeks and your team now starts getting loaded up with injuries. It's anyone's ball game any week.
100%. And you beat me this past week. We were neck and neck until the very end. But typically your Mahomes is the guy that you ride, for those wins. He only gave you 7. He had the flu, and your other guy stepped up. It was unbelievable. So and you're in the playoffs hunt right now. You're right in there, Uncle John.
Yeah, but again, I think I have Devin's team this week, and I think they're one of the last place teams. But I'm a mess. I have some of my top players who are bye weeks, and I have guys that I put on my roster that are now listed as questionable for Sunday. So now I got to go shopping again, and there's really not a great pick, not a lot of picks out there. So it really becomes a chess match, and anything could happen now.
Anything can, and this week is exceptionally pivotal because we have a lot of teams tied with the same record, and every week now is important. It's really getting this is way more competitive than I thought it was going to be. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's anyone's ball game.
Yep, we shall see what happens. Uncle John, thank you so much for being on the podcast, and I look forward to talking to you soon.
Thanks, Kamish. Thanks for having me, and good luck to all of my fellow league players here this week.
Yes, set your lineups, everybody. Have a good